Hi, Mike.
G'day, mate.
Evening.
Do Aussie say good evening, mate?
Good
Or do you
evening.
still say good day, mate?
No.
We say good evening, we say it properly. Good evening.
Good evening, kind sir.
Go proper posh.
Allow me to
So
fluff your
you're more
pillow.
likely you'd say, how's it going? Or what's up? Usually, how's it going? How's it going, mate?
How's it going?
Yes, South Africa
Yeah, you gotta make
and
sure you do the
Australia,
proper
we
ochre.
tend to greet quite similar. Us Southern Hemisphere peasants.
Include us in that crap.
You're more South than us, so
Yeah, it's true.
just a tad.
More similarities than I care to mention, though.
Yeah, we just don't have all the weird phrases like you guys. Man, you got a lot.
Oh, well, you can always learn.
Robots and now and plenty of stuff, mate. Okay, so let's get underway. First up, I'll deal with the incident today, and then before we do the product stuff, so that I can tackle that off the top. So we had an incident earlier that we talked about. We've nailed that down. We think we've done a fair bit of research and due diligence and all the rest of it. I know one of the criticisms was that we were slow to act or slow to react. We had to check this out and do a bit of due diligence and find out what had actually happened, because everything seemed normal from our side. What had eventually transpired is it was a third-party app. So as we've got a ton of stuff coming up and we've been doing more PR outreach, we had a situation where appointments were being set up to talk to different PR outlets. One of those ended up being not legitimate, which caused a right access, or the ability for someone to be able to put stuff up, not change logins or credentials or anything like that. But either way, what we did was, when we isolated that, we ensure that all third-party apps were disconnected or don't have any access, and tried to lock and nail that down. So we're just still in the process of doing a full incident report on that. We have had a couple of people. Sorry?
Just add a point to what you said, Ben.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a front door thing where someone's got access to someone's account, they've gone into our account and mucked around and posted stuff in there. It was an automated third-party posting. It was injected from external sources, so it wasn't like someone took someone's personal account and started manually putting posts up. It was a bot doing it.
The other thing is, I saw, and we're still doing some more research, and so we'll do a report on that once that's available. But there's one confirmed case that I can actually see. There's a few people that have claimed as well, so we'll have a look at that. But ultimately, I saw one of the comments in here earlier saying it's either it's taken a while because it's well coordinated, or it's an inside job, or whatever. From what we can see, and it's pretty easy to see, the website is just a straight clone. It's spelt differently, and it was registered yesterday. So this is not, despite what people might think, this is not something that's hard to do. And if you read the addresses and you read the contract that you're actually interacting with, I believe, to be confirmed, but I believe the actual contract is called Pink Drainer. So it's an actual drainer contract. So I think that it was probably put together in tremendous haste, rather than something that was something that took a mercurial time or period of time to actually plan. So we'll provide a more up-to-date synopsis once we've got the details. Luke, do you want to go through the product stuff?
I've got heaps of stuff here. So I've been saving this up a little bit, partly because I was traveling for one of these, and partly because we weren't quite ready to talk about some of it. So it's kind of all just for various reasons mounted up. So buckle up. So we're introducing a form of XP, experience points, into the Vault. There's going to be multiple ways to earn that, and it's going to get expanded over time. I won't say more than that at the moment, but there's going to be some information coming out soon that will make sure everybody sees early on, and we'll make sure that everybody's across exactly what's happening in this community. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be really, really, really cool. We have leaderboards ready to go in the Vault. So and billboards as well. So we've got leaderboards and billboards set up. Billboards are all set up on the back end, so we can change those dynamically. We're going to start just by displaying some tutorials, but they can be used for pretty much any purpose we choose from going forward. So we can basically use those for anything web-based. So we've got photorealistic avatars as well, with an avatar integration into the portal and the login screen for the Vault. So they've been implemented. We've been playing with those. What we've been doing for the last couple of weeks is just optimizing them. They're looking really good. They're really fun. It's fun to see people looking photorealistic in there, people you know, and it's a bit takes you back a bit at first, but it's cool. So it'll be interesting to see what people do with that. Hopefully no one goes in as Taylor Swift, but we'll see. I'm sure it's going to happen. We've got new treasure chests. They're color coded, and that's based on criteria. So some are static, some are dynamic. The way you interact with them is kind of different based on, as I said, a few criteria, including status. Just say that. Pets, there are a bunch of them. There's heaps now. I'll show you a short video in a sec, but Atesh, we just need to kill this and make sure that this video doesn't go up, because this is not just phase one pets. There's some pretty down the track sort of pets. So this is alpha with a capital A. So if we can kill that, that would be great. Performance is a big thing. We've been talking about that a lot. I know that's not the most exciting thing, but we've improved a lot on the performance side of things. And the list of compatible devices has grown according to Google Play Store, as far as the Android handsets that is compatible with. So we'll keep chipping away at that. We're not talking revolutionary stuff, but it's incremental stuff that we keep chipping away at. It's getting better and better. You'll see that basically when it hits the handsets, we'll know what's going on and how much impact it's had on different devices, but it's running pretty damn smooth from our perspective at the moment, especially on mobile. The next thing we're doing is we're building out prefabs. So prefabs sort of wrap up the code and make it make the client app, the Vault app that we see now, much more modular. It gives us that ability to sort of reuse code, share code, and as I said, make it more modular. So that code can be shared with creators. So when that's complete and the custom templates being used, we can share those prefabs with creators, and they can have things like game mechanics, or it could be an arcade machine. It can be all sorts of things that don't need to be recoded, and the Vault is aware of, so they can just be dropped in and used. It's already happening, so we're already preparing for that. The other thing is just with the performance changes generally in the optimization, you'll notice the build size is slowly getting smaller and smaller as we're doing this. We're cleaning up code. We're moving functions to the back end where possible, and cleaning up all the existing code. So it's really having an impact on not only the weight and size of that build, but also the performance of it. And I mean, the reason we're doing this, we've discussed this before, but the reason we're doing this is making the Vault apps lightweight. Gets us closer to a bunch of different things that decisions we can make, and one of those big ones is the WebGL builds, and being able to have a WebGL endpoint that's either fully featured or very close to fully featured. So we are extremely close to that. We've even added the WebGL builds to our pipeline, so that's one of the endpoints we can deliver to now in a fairly automated fashion. Sorry, just having a glass of water. So yeah, I mean, very, very close. The main thing, as I've mentioned before, is we had some plugins that didn't work. Most of that's been resolved now, but we're just working through the last couple now. What that basically means, I know that's a lot of stuff, but what that basically means is you'll be able to run the Vault on a browser, which means PC and Mac. I think that's bigger than it might sound just on the surface of things, because that opens up a whole new world for us. It's a lot of additional users, which is exciting, and the onboarding process there is obviously much easier as well. There's nothing to install, basically just a loading screen and you're off. So things like sharing links and going to specific areas in the Vault, in that medium, it becomes much easier, and it doesn't. I think it does anything from the VR and mobile side other than just complement it and give people another option. People that don't have a new handset or don't want to upgrade their handset, they've got another option. They've got something really powerful they're already using that they can run it on. There's a heap more coming. I'll need to park some of that until we're a bit closer to it, but just to make the point that we're really clear on where we're going. We're super clear on the path forward. We're building something bigger in the back end. That's than what is immediately visible, I guess, at the moment. But it's going to give us options, as I said, going forward. It's going to give us those decision points and the ability to be flexible. Okay, I can't say much more than that, but there is one more thing, and I don't need to have a crystal ball, but I think certain holders will get some unique perks coming up. So I said crystal. I really emphasize the word crystal in that. And open those chests. I keep saying it, but open the chests. You'll thank me later. Do you want to do a COGS Quest update, Phil?
For COGS Quest, we've been testing internally, and it's looking pretty good. We could launch it, but there are a few things on the back end. As Luke mentioned, we're making improvements to the back end, so things don't have to stay on the client. And we're just waiting for a few things to be deployed so that we can release the update. I don't exactly know when that's going to happen, but it should be fairly soon.
If anyone is already in the beta track who wants to have a look at it, let us know and we can potentially give it to you even a little bit early. Just the people that are already in the Android beta track, I think, is the go. Or do you want to do iOS as well, Phil?
Actually, honestly, I'd like to get
now,
more
but
iOS
I'm just saying, if
testers.
we could do it a couple of days early, maybe, and get some final feedback on it.
Yeah, I'd like to do both because it's harder to get the iOS feedback. So
Okay.
If we can do that, that'd be great.
If you're in one of those channels for COGS Quest and you want it a little bit early, just message Lala and let her know, and then get a list and make sure people get that.
And to Luke's points that he made earlier, and we were talking about stuff last week. Like, a lot of stuff has built up, but we've also, like Luke has hinted to on a couple of occasions, this is all just little pieces of something much bigger that we're working on and we'll bring to you very shortly. But the pieces are all coming together, and we said many moons ago, and I know that people have been patient. It's a big thing to build out, but the rate of progress that we've had over the last year or so with having the base platform there and then being able to add and to advance as quickly as we have has been great. But now we're at a point where it all comes together, and it answers a lot of the questions that you guys have as well in relation to where next and what happens. So, like Luke said, crystal clear on what we want to do. He meant it as a pun. I don't. I mean it as in its literal meaning, and that's good. So we will reveal that to you very shortly and drop some alpha and try and always give you guys spoilers. But pretty exciting that we can actually leverage all of the stuff that's been done over the last 5 years or so, and now start to really put it together and progress forward. So very, very happy. And that'll answer a lot of the questions that you guys have got in relation to traffic and rewards and all sorts of stuff. So so stay tuned for that. Lala, would you mind reading? Konnichiwa. Would you mind reading the questions for us, please?
Sure. On AMA questions, what's the status of the SDKs to be released for Vault builders?
You want to take that one, Luke?
Yep, I can do. We're taking this from a couple of different directions at the moment. Looking at doing some stuff which is going to future-proof it a little bit as well, but we'll get into that later. But like another time. But the SDK itself, the current one as we know it, we've got. So we had this plan that we talked about to go to this fully dynamic SDK, which is still the plan. But because that's taking time to build out, we've got an interim step which we're implementing at the moment, which will basically give you what we're calling a custom template. So you can go in and you can build whatever you want. The only caveat to that, it'll be completely dynamic in that you can upload the assets to the cloud and have them download like they do in the Vault. It all work the same way as that. So those assets can be changed without builds being released, which is one of the big things for us, and for creators obviously as well. The only limitation is things like game mechanics and aspects of the Vault that you want to actually be able to connect up and utilize inside those experiences. Some of that stuff's going to have to be in those prefabs, which I talked about earlier. So the reason we're building those prefabs out is so we can share that those snippets of code basically with the custom template, and then we get the best of both worlds. You can add that stuff in. If there's something that a creator comes to us with, where they've already built something that can be easily ported, and it's got some functionality in that we don't have, then we got a decision obviously we can make whether we wrap that up into a prefab and then share that, or just make a private prefab for that particular scene. But it gives us a lot of flexibility and gets us sort of 80-90% of the way there without having to build the entire thing out. So it's just going to speed things up a lot. We've already started that, and we've marked it for completion in this quarter. So we're going to try and beat that target though, to get it out before that. And there'll be stages to this. So we'll work with a couple of creators that we've got already working on scenes. We'll work with them to get that fast tracked and get them in sooner, because we can obviously do the scene part now and then add the add any extra layers on afterwards. And then by the time we're ready and that gets pushed out in an update, we should have a couple of at least semi-dynamic scenes in there ready to go.
Just for the general people here that don't know what a prefab is, it's like taking a feature and you kind of wrap it up into a container, and you then allow people to, you can sort of edit it without manipulating the base function of it. And then you can reuse it in multiple places with different types of edits. So in one space, you could have it doing one thing, and in another space, you could have it doing something else, but it's still fundamentally the same feature. So that's why when we need to wrap up features in the Vault into prefabs, stuff like, let's take jumping as an example. We wrap jumping into a prefab, that'll allow someone like Second City to go in there and take that prefab, and they can change it and say, right, I want gravity to be less, or I want someone to not be able to jump half as high. They can tweak those prefabs and change things there, but it's still using a core mechanic that we have within the Vault without messing with the Vaults or changing the Vault's stuff. So it's a super important aspect.
Alrighty, second question. Will there be a phased SDK release? District buildings, avatar building, apartment items, or?
Yes. I think I kind of covered that one a bit, but there's phases to all of this this stuff. But districts will be first for sure. And then if I was a betting man, I'd say apartments would be next. But obviously we've already got avatar creation tools using some of the existing integration. So we can there's already stuff on that we've already built around creating those avatars and using those, exporting those models and things. So we can create those avatars. It depends what we're talking about as far as, like, an avatar SDK is a different thing. That's basically, building something from scratch and bringing something external in. That's if, like I said, if I was a betting man, going to be the last step in that process. But definitely it's phased and it's iterative. And like I said, we want to get this initial district SDK to as close to its final state as possible, as quickly as possible.
All right, last one from Steven. When will we be able to tokenize NFTs? Our AI generated skylines, floors, ceilings, and walls.
Yeah, sure, I can take this one.
I'd say Brad Bill might be the best one to answer that. But
yeah, sure. So we actually have that already in our test environment. So we have it on staging, the minting of NFTs. We wanted to wait a little bit more to get a bit more usage of the actual customizations. And also we are just integrating DALL-E 3, which is obviously much better than DALL-E 2. So I think that will be in one of the next builds as well to try out. And then I think we were getting closer to actually allowing to tokenize it. Obviously, there are also considerations with gas fees and so on, because when you mint something on Ethereum right now, like NFTs, it's quite expensive. So we're still figuring out what exactly the best approach is for this. And initially, we want to have it all like in-game first and with the currency. But it's definitely still a thing we're looking at, and we will launch for sure.
Maybe direct the questions at Red Pill, because he gave more information than I was going to give. He seems generous tonight.
All right, so I have some I have like 3 questions that I was tagged last week, so I've put it in chat as well. I'll just read it out to the team and see who picks it up. Number 1, it seems to be difficult to tell the risk and reward for devs to come in and create in the RFOX ecosystem. Where can the information be found, and what is the process of onboarding?
I'll do the first part because we've done it a few times. So I'll do the first part, and then maybe Luke or Red Pill can add some further context. But yep, good question. The thing is, as Luke explained previously, you don't have to actually like buy a district to be able to develop or get involved or to speak to other projects or residents in relation to building stuff. So there's plenty of stuff that you can actually do. There's plenty of things that you could do to test the waters and bring your skills to the table to see whether or not there's a fit and an appetite and all the rest of it there, which is different than the original question of is it worth me buying a district to be able to develop or build something? So ultimately, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of other ways that you can get involved. Luke, Luke or Red Pill, do you want to give a little bit more context in relation to the onboarding part?
Only that it's quite manual at the moment, and we're aware of that. So we're working on automating that as much as possible. We want that to be obviously quite seamless, and we want it to be as self-serve as it possibly can be as well. But as with any of these things, you have to sort of make sure that it's fit for purpose first, and that the documentation's right and all the rest of it, and then you can do that second layer. But we obviously want that to be as frictionless as possible, and we don't want to be a hold up or a bottleneck for that either. So automating it, making it seamless is definitely a priority.
All right, I guess there is still a follow-up question to that one, which is the risks and rewards for devs.
Risk and reward perspective for anybody developing anything in the blockchain space is, like what are people going to get from it? What are you looking to get from it? So the risks are that you would spend a ton of time or effort or something trying to build something that doesn't hit the mark. Now, that depends on what your mark is. Overcapitalization or spending too much on something that doesn't have a proven audience, or the other risks would be stuff like deploying resources to something that you then decide that you don't want to continue, or there's lots of different things. It depends on what you want to actually do. And as far as the rewards are concerned, there's depending on what you want to do. Again, there's multiple answers to that question. Obviously, once you've got an audience of size, then you've got that the discovery eyeballs on you. And I just heard someone recently say that as platforms become more mature, and look at the Play Store, for example, it becomes more competitive. So the rewards are sometimes harder to get on a platform that has a higher number of users and more content. It becomes harder to address the audience, and it becomes very much an attention economy. So I think the rewards are getting in early and being able to get a feel for the space and have a look at how things are developing and evolving. And knowing that you're getting in there in the early days, that allows you to be able to tackle appeal and approach to the people coming into the Metaverse platform, while there isn't a lot of noise around that, and there isn't too many options for them to sort of go to. So if you can build something that's appealing, doesn't have to be overly complex, but something that's fun and engaging, I think the rewards are extremely high. Does anybody else want to tackle that?
Yeah, I also want to add a couple of points. Like, first of all, it's because we're not working with like hundreds of projects yet, you will also get a lot of time from the team actually supporting you and basically like exchanging ideas and supporting with implementation, potentially even having impact on what next features or prefabs we build just to support the creators, because that's the really important relationship between the creators and the platform, obviously. So that's why we're doing interviews with creators. We're working closely also with Second City, for example, and figuring out what is needed for them to make their life easier. So there's a lot of complexity we can also take away with the platform. So for example, if you're a developer and you don't want to create the whole wallet system, or you don't want to create the NFT lookup system, but you want to make some cool NFTs and give them utility in the game, that's something that we would provide, and actually already do, obviously, because you can have your citizens in the vault and so on. So those things will all be wrapped in the SDK, which then any developer can access, and they don't need to worry about setting up servers for multiplayer. They don't need to worry about a lot of other systems that you would normally have to do if you would build it from scratch. And additionally, obviously, we will support you, like making your decisions how you want to deploy that space and how to make it successful, basically. So I think there are a lot of things that are pretty, beneficial, and especially if you're early, you have it definitely easier than when it's like extremely crowded already and you have like heaps of creators.
All right. Last question from last week on my side would be, Second City has launched staking on Gempad app that offers Arbitrum chain. How big of a problem is adding several chains onto RFOX Finance? Guess it makes sense for any project running in a vault to use RFOX Finance for their staking and farming needs. Thanks for your comment. I think this is something Pete can take. I'm just gonna tie to you, Pete.
Yeah, I can answer that. So it's not about just the staking. If we were to add a chain like Arbitrum, for example, where they're at onto RFOX Finance, we have to cater for everything that's on RFOX Finance, which includes swap, supplying liquidity and all that. Which also means that we either have to deploy our own router or find an existing router, that Arbitrum provide. I mean, that's existing in and integrate that router, right? So having just the staking piece is pretty straightforward. But having the whole DeFi, from front to end, right? Ability to be able to swap for your tokens, the ability to supply liquidity pools, the ability to single site staking or LP staking, all of that has to be integrated. So having a new chain on RFOX Finance is not just that one piece, like the staking piece. It's, there's all the others. Gempad, for example, is a platform where it only focuses on staking, I believe. So it provides a service in which you can offer to stake something to get something else, and that's all it does. So there are various things. RFOX Finance is basically a full DeFi. You swap, you could supply LPs. Hopefully that answers the question.
That should be good. Yeah, that's all from last week. I'm just going to screen through whether there's anything else on here. All right, we have one from XP. Anything on citizens and what will drive value? Has there been anything given to focus on law and why crystals shouldn't be sold?
I think I can add a bit of context there. So the law, there's further things being added to the law for sure. As part of what I was talking about before, in saying that Luke was talking about pieces of something that make up something much bigger. Citizens play a role in that as well. So yes, I think I know what people want to hear and I know what people are expecting to hear. I think the thing is that don't ever think that we're not thinking about this stuff all day. That's what the guys are doing. They're developing stuff and they're working on how all this comes together and how this fits together. So they're very much in our thoughts, as well as also the districts and the apartments as well. So they're all part of this bigger piece that Luke's alluding and hinting to. So yeah, there's definitely a solid plan in relation to how they fit in and the value side of things. That by answering the question or by giving you the further details of what I'm talking about at the moment, that will also explain the actual reason that they would have value going forward as well. In relation to crystals, Luke's given you a little hint, but crystals will always be the top of the food chain, so to speak. And we've also mentioned, if you read the law, and if you haven't, you should go in and have a quick read, because it's not a lot. Doesn't take up too much time. It's like a 5 to 10 minute read. Crystals will be the only citizens that are capable of producing any new life as well. The actual I won't give too much away because that's going to spoil what we're about to talk about as well. But effectively, the element inside of the crystal, there you go, that's a diplomatic way of saying it, isn't it? Like, the element inside of the crystal is the thing that powers life in the vault. So, yeah, I can't say it without actually saying everything. So, they will have always have a tremendous amount of value compared to everything else. But ultimately, the plan expands and covers all of the citizens and the law and how everything ties together.
Yeah, I was just going to add that citizens themselves, not just crystals, will have preferential treatment, but there'll be levels and scales.
I think the thing is that one of the questions that I got, Lala, that I can sort of add to now as we're going is the question that I got was, and I've had this question in many forms or various forms a lot over the past 6 months or a year especially, is that people have basically said here, they say, what will provide sustaining and ongoing value through the upcoming bull market? And do you have any plans for staking or rewards? It's a question we get all the time. It's a question that we get asked to comment on all of the time. And all I can say is that the stuff that we're working on will address that. That's something that we're focused on. So we get that, we understand that, and it's not like we haven't been thinking about this stuff either, because we've been in a sustained bear market, as everybody knows. If we were a project that sort of disappeared and just ran into the background, didn't do anything for 2 years, and sort of came back and said, hey, and we know that a lot of projects are doing that and have done that, and sort of said, well, there was no point doing anything in the bear market. Right, where are we at? What should we do next? We haven't been in that situation. And as you can see, and I think that since Luke and a few other members of the team have come along, we've been able to sort of get better at the process behind the product builds, design, and delivery. So that all, you don't just sort of build a road that you don't know where it's going to go to. You've got a pretty clear idea of where that can take you. And I think the surprisingly good thing, and I don't know if Luke wants to add more context or Red Pill wants to add more context, but I guess the encouraging thing is that when you get to the point of maturity that we're at, and we've still got a long way to go, we're not pretending we don't, that road ends up giving you multiple options. And some of those options are options that have arisen because of the direction that you've headed in. And they are in addition to things that you've always looked at. And I think that the testimony to what the team's done is they've built in a very modular way that allows us to be able to scale and to also be a little bit flexible and not be rigid and painted into a corner. And it's as frustrating for us as it is for you guys when you see projects that you know have painted themselves into a corner, but they're marketing that corner well, and they get a little bit of traction and fanfare. We sort of are buoyed by the fact that we have the future is in front of us. It's not behind us. It's very much in front of us, and we see. It's hard to not get excited talking about it, but the options that are opening up to us as far as improvement and what we can do, and how to tackle the market in a way that allows us to provide things that are otherwise not there, or are very early, or are going to be very difficult for other people to just sort of say, hey, I like that idea, I'm going to do that too. That's a luxury of going through the painful, long process of trying to build something correctly or the right way. Luke or Red Pill, do you want to add to that?
So I'll address that the fact that it's modular a little bit, but I'll just put it in a different context, because I mentioned that there was some chat around the App Store, getting onto the Oculus Quest store, Meta Quest store, and that kind of just reminded me of it then when you're talking about that modular side of things. So I'll address both at once. So the Quest store, as we mentioned a few times, it doesn't have a lot of apps on it. It's actually quite challenging, but it's also quite a small catalog of apps. I looked it up the other day again, and it's around 340 actual Quest apps, and then there's 837 in the App Lab, which are at that interim phase. They can't charge money for them, and there's some limitations on them and stuff. You can't do some stuff in app, but basically it's in that stepping stone to the actual Quest store. You have to have a direct link to the app as well in that App Lab phase, and they lower the performance benchmarks a little bit. It's kind of like I said, an interim step. On the other side of that, on the SideQuest side, there's 3,000 apps and well over 2 million active users per month. And I'm not suggesting that SideQuest is the end, but getting on that plane, being on the main store is a good platform. There's heaps of users on there, all that sort of stuff. But we just need to be ready to pivot and change as this technology changes, and the ability to push this stuff out gets easier and easier. And this goes back to what Ben was saying about it being modular. We're really close to getting on that store, I think, because we're edging closer. As I said, the performance is getting better, and it's partly why we're doing these performance fixes to get on this store. But my personal opinion is that these app stores are going to become less important as time goes by, and I don't think that having multiple apps that you download and then somehow that basically multiple individual apps that all serve a similar purpose in these metaverse apps that are controlled and taxed, and it just won't be a natural progression to get into interoperability and decentralization, or actually what the dream was for Web3. So that WebGL stuff we talked about, which is the browser-based Vault, that's going to expose us to a much bigger audience. I think we'll get to a point where the client itself becomes much more modular and much more adaptable, and we can pivot really quickly if we want to change some of the technology we're using, for example. But obviously the whole space is moving so fast, and it's like a renaissance of sorts, I think, and we're just sort of at the start of it. But we have to use the tech that is available to us at the time. We have no choice. That's all we can do. If you build your tech for the time, you're screwed. That's a really big mistake. So we have to adapt and be ready to adapt and be modular.
I think, Luke, your point there is very, very good point. I'll butcher the saying, but you probably have heard it, or someone will be able to tell me where it's from. But ultimately, the saying basically says you can never fuel a technology movement by giving people more of what they already have. And it's a very, very important thing to digest and to understand, because it says what Luke's saying now. If you're building for now, you're in trouble. You've got to build for skate to where the puck's going to be, not where it is, as Gretzky said. I know that's a good one. King of Cogs likes that one. It's a pretty important thing to know and to be thinking about. And like you pretty much said it, Luke, and I just wrote it in the thing. Like a lot of those stores or marketplaces as we currently know them, I'm going to be bold enough to say that if this technology movement is going to be successful, then they can't continue to be successful in their current form with what they currently offer. They're going to have to pivot wildly to adapt to the change that's coming. And I think that why we're pretty excited at the moment is, for us and in our eyes, where that's going, or that change that's coming, is pretty bloody evident. It's still early, but it's pretty evident that that's going to happen and it's going to change. And I think that we all kind of lick our lips, so to speak, because we're in a position where we know that it actually, like you said, like the technology's early, but it actually provides us the opportunity to better deliver what we're trying to deliver, and it gives us a massive advantage. So yeah, so it's pretty exciting, and I think that part of it's something we're looking forward to. But yeah, to XP's question and to the question that we get asked, and I know that people ask it all the time. I get the whole staking rewards, and you want your tokens to work for you and all the rest of it. So like I said, because Artesh has written just above something in relation to liquidity on VFOX and RFOX, the plan that we're about to roll out will definitely help address both of those things, for sure. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because it was just, I think, 3 conversations I've been involved in today have been projects that are around that $250 million mark. That it's funny because people only talk about the meme coins that are going through the roof, but there's quite a few of those $250 million projects are around that mark that are coming under fire for not having enough liquidity, or not having enough trading volumes, or not having enough price movement. But they're projects that are focused on technology, or whatever the case might be. So I think it's a matter of, there's a lot of numbers that aren't real in the space, but there's also a period we're going to come into where it's going to get very hard to get people's attention. So unless you've got a very good plan to get people's attention, you simply won't. So I think that we can balance the attention that we get between something that's exciting and something that's for everybody and the reason we're all here. But it's also very much balanced with the fact that we're delivering something solid from a technical perspective. It's something that's built to last. I think that's one of the heaviest pieces of criticism we get is that, and you've probably heard it and you probably said it if you want to be honest with yourself, but we've had a lot of comments saying, stop building stuff or don't spend money on trying to build stuff. Just go to a marketing company and market. It's not what we were here to do. We were here to build something. And I think that now we're getting to a point where, like Luke said, very close to getting listed on Quest Store for however long all those stores will still be around and in the way that we see them today. We're getting closer and closer to ticking all the boxes in the commercial space. And now we understand that now it's a matter of trying to work out how to get that attention and to market, because at the end of the day, when the dust settles after a run like the one we're about to come into, people are going to be left sort of asking the question of, is any of this real? Has anybody actually built anything? Is there anything that actually does anything? Because we know that the majority of people in this space do not use any of the products that the projects are actually building, and they have no interest in that. They just care about the number to go up. And if I want to be honest, if I'm going to invest in something, I don't even go onto the Discord channels or look at the website or whatever. It's just all through word of mouth or whatever, or someone telling me or someone recommending. The thing is that there's very different reasons that people are following projects or into projects. And one of the biggest issues that you have as a founder and as a person working in this space is to try and balance everybody's needs. It's not easy. But I think we've endured that and we've dealt with tough questions and we've been here week in, week out, rain, hail or shine. And I think that we're going to get our time in the sun. And I think, to be very honest with you, I think the team deserves it because they've worked pretty hard to produce something that's pretty amazing. And I think that the accolades will come. It's a matter of when. I think in summary, what we're saying is you're not going to have to wait for much longer. You're not going to have to be patient for much longer. We're getting very close to being able to talk candidly about everything that we're working on. And it's exciting. It's an exciting period we're going to go through. So all I can say to you is if you do use the product, use it, give us feedback, get in there. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think could be improved. The feedback is greatly appreciated. Sometimes people say, certain things rub me or other people up the wrong way. We're here to answer questions and we should be accountable. And quite often, if you hear a little bit of disgruntledness in my voice or whatever, it's because it's something that we're acutely aware of and we want to fix, and it's frustrating for us as well. It's not like you're coming in and saying, hey, have you ever noticed this? It's like, of course, we understand that. We see it every day and it frustrates us and we're trying to fix it. Other things, it's the opposite way. It's the how come nobody does see that? But you've just got to, at some point in time, come to the realization that very few people actually use the products or are interested in the products. And that just drives you to work harder to produce a product that makes people want to pay attention to it and want to use it. So that's the thing that keeps the fire burning is heading towards that product market fit and mass adoption.
Oh, sorry, Benny. I got something to tell, to say out. Gecko, reminder to stake your tubes tomorrow. Don't forget again.
Thank you, kind sir. Remind me tomorrow. Otherwise I won't remember.
What the hell? I'll remind you tomorrow, yes. Need to remind the community as well. I think a bunch of people forgot last time around.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, thank you very, very much for joining us and taking the time to come and spend your time with us. Very, very excited for what's coming in the next little bit, and I can't wait to see your guys' excitement as well. Just make sure you follow the social channels and make sure that you are coming into the Vault as much as you possibly can. I got requested a couple of weeks back or a week and a half ago to book a time to do more of the Vault walkthroughs, and that was something that I thought was beneficial, but that's been backed up by you guys saying let's do more of those. So I'm also going to make some time. I'll go back through Lala and Ivy to just let you know when. But I think it's a really, really good opportunity to use the platform we've built to showcase the purpose that it was built for. So it'd be great to do a few more of those sessions where we can just walk around and you can ask candid questions and I can point stuff out to you and we can try stuff together. It's always a good way to do things. So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time tonight, and look forward to speaking to you all very shortly. Have a good night, and thanks to the team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
great week.
everybody. Have a
Thanks,
good
Stay safe.
everybody. See ya. Have a great night.